Mm-hmm.
And especially at this level, it's like you haven't failed yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've only achieved, you know, you've only been exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not going to stop being exceptional.
You're pouring into me right now, Sarah. Sarah, because I'm really I know that I want to continue on to school, and I know I need to and want to start a doctoral program, but I am scared to death.
What are you scared of?
All the things we just talked about. All the things we just talked about, and so I won't get emotional, but I'm getting emotional. Y'all can't see me. But I really know that I need to do it. I just am afraid. So I have to be reminded that I haven't failed yet.
No. And you're actually, from my knowledge of you, of working in student affairs, working in the College of Management, you know, of extending yourself, so not even an area that you had experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you extended yourself in being in a program where I think the people are like, I don't know these people, I don't know this culture, you know, like the business culture.
Oh, yeah.
And now going back to Trio, it's, you know, you're a perfect candidate. And I think, like, from my knowledge, which I don't have my PhD, but I like to pretend I know everything.
Yes.
Is that for a PhD program, especially, they're looking for looking for individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
And I know all of this, you know.
So what's the first step you're going to take? I'm not asking you to apply today, but what's the first step that you feel...
Sarah's using her advising skills, her intrusive advising skills on me.
We're gonna keep in touch with you, Roshaunda.
I'll be proud. I've taken the Miller's Analogies test, which is not the GRE because I had a bad experience with the GRE, and so I'm trying a different approach this time. So I've taken that test, and I have a checklist or a spreadsheet, actually, on places I could apply. I've really been dragging my feet. And I had to be reminded today in talking about this imposter syndrome of why I'm dragging my feet, because there's some place down inside me that tells me, you can't do this. You don't belong here. I don't know how you've managed to get this far, when the reality is, I deserve to be here. And there is no one else that is more deserving than me. I have all the credentials that I need. There's a lot of pieces to it. So although we're here talking about this, I really want people to know that this is something that you continue to have after the degree process, the graduate degree, even as a parent maybe, or as a friend, or if you're applying a doctoral program or a new job. You're constantly having to dismiss feelings of inadequacy, even when you know that you can do it. Yeah,
and I always think, too, it's like, who are you to say you can't get in? That's not your job. To say, like, you're not on the admissions committee. Like,
so,
why do you stop thinking? You need to stop thinking you are.
And you know the crazy thing is, I think I would get in, but I think finishing...
Are you applying for a PhD in, like, nanoscience?
No.
Okay.
No, of course not. I don't.
What programs are you looking at?
So, I am looking at some of the higher ed programs. I am looking at a history program because I love history. I'm also looking at a counseling program and a leadership program, which is at a historically Black college that's local. So most of the programs, though, are going to be here at State. So I'm not assuming that I won't get in. I'm just nervous about finishing.
Finishing the application?
Finishing the program. Degree? Look, I'm already at finishing the program and I haven't even applied.
I am shaking my head for those at home. And she's laughing, touching me, going, stop shaking your head. Don't shake your head.
Well, because I know that it's all in my brain and it's not reality. But
so what's your advice? Like, what do you think you should do to get out of your head?
I've given myself different benchmarks to hit. And I'm just going to hit those benchmarks. And I'm going to continue to tell people what my goals are so that they can hold me accountable. So now when Sarah sees me at meetings or in practice, she can say, hey, what are you doing about this? Have you applied? What, so I'm going to do that more. I'm going to start telling people my intentions so they can hold me accountable. Sometimes I keep a lot of things to myself. That way I don't have any accountability partner. And the only person I usually let down is myself. But if I tell others and they hold me accountable, that will help. My partner, he has given me different incentives for taking baby steps. So to take the Miller's analogy test, he said, you have to take it. If you don't take it, you're not going to be able to buy this particular thing that you wanted, which I really wanted, this nice African skirt. And he said, if you don't take this test, you're not going to be able to buy it. And in my head, I was like, so what? I'll just buy it, in a month or two. He's like, no, you're not going to be able to buy it for the rest of the year. And I was just like, that's a long time. So he knows me well. He knows that I need accountability. So that's what I'm going to do. But
well, and I think, too, when you're talking, it's almost like going into logic mind, where it's like I'm logically going to apply, knowing that my emotion mind isn't helping me out.
Right.
It's you gotta turn off the feelings almost and treat it like a work.
Exactly, because your feelings will tell you any and everything. And sometimes I really just have to put my feelings aside and I have to do it. And for me, of course, working with Trio, I have to think about my students. I told some of my students that I was applying. And so they're really like asking me about it and encouraging me to do it. And when I meet with them, they're like, okay, well, what about you? Have you turned in your applications? And so that helps me too, to turn off those emotions, because emotions lie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just because it feels right or doesn't mean it's right.
No. Usually it's not right if it feels right. So, I just got to do it, honestly. And I will.
Because the other thing that comes to mind, too, is that people need you to get your PhD. So one of the reasons, what's kind of unique about a PhD program is that you create new knowledge, that you bring something new to the area, whether it be history or student development or leadership. And so if you withhold that, that's a disservice to you, but it's also a disservice to the next generation.
Right.
That you withheld, being in a place that's going to support you to make that impact.
Wow, I'm withholding knowledge. I like how you put that. I like that. I like that reframe, and that I have to do it or someone will miss out on information. That's a good way to think about it.
Because thinking generationally, that impacted you, thinking about your generations. And so, like, for future generations, they need to know, what you've brought into the world that only you could bring into the world.
That's good.
Yeah.
She's giving me a look. I know, but it helps me to not think about it in terms of myself, because culturally we're taught not to think about ourselves, but thinking about it in a grand scheme of humanity and people helps it for me. It helps me.
Yeah, and that's another whole topic, how we aren't nice to ourselves. How we're nicer to, or even more respectful to other people than we are. Like, the stuff we would say to ourselves, we would never say to another human being.
Ever.
Yeah. But we're fine telling ourselves that. But that's another whole...
I know.
So anyways, we're working on it. Both of us are working on it. So... Now, did you graduate with ease through graduate school?
I did. I graduated after 2 years. I did graduate from the University of Georgia, and it was pretty easy. The assignments and things were not easy. I definitely had to, I think, work 10, maybe 20 times as hard as some of my peers. I did not own a laptop at all. And so I had to check out one from the College of Education every single week to the point they knew my name. Now, get this, though. I checked out the nicest laptop I could get. I had a MacBook for 2 years that I just continued to check out. And I think the guy knew I was coming back every week, so he probably just like laid it aside for me. And I don't even know if I was supposed to do that, but it worked out. And so I really had to work to get all the resources that I needed, and I really had to make I typed papers and I would retype them, or I would work on projects and I would redo them even after they were done. And I had a roommate who just could not understand why I just would not just turn it in already. But again, it was that voice telling me, okay, you could do more, or this isn't good enough, start over. And yeah, I had to work around that. But I did graduate, and it was a glorious day. All my faculty members were there, my cohort, and I still keep in touch with my faculty and my cohort. And I went to Georgia a few weeks ago for a friend who graduated with her PhD at Georgia, and they were like, Roshaunda, what are you doing? When are you coming back? What's going on? And so the fact that I've been gone there for almost 10 years and people still know me, and people still reach out to me, and people still want to know how I'm doing and what I'm doing next is a testament to the program, and just a testament to the relationships that I built there. So I didn't struggle like I did in undergrad because it was an educational program, and I guess they put some things in place to keep me from struggling, but I did have to work harder than my peers probably.
And that obviously probably wasn't necessary, but it did build up work ethic, probably.
It did. Yeah. And, I had to ask myself, too, why is it that after a paper is done, did I feel the need to go back or start over or compare my work to others? So, again, I did have to check myself a lot in what I was doing because sometimes it was irrational. But I also had to... It was for the first time I had started going to counseling to talk to the counselor about how I was feeling and some of the emotions that I felt. And she was able to help me frame a lot of things, a lot of my emotions and feelings around my upbringing. And it was just a great experience for me to be able to talk to someone who was completely unbiased and for her to actually hear me. Because in my house growing up, we talked a lot, but no one listened.
Right.
So to be in a space where someone could listen and help me make meaning of how I was feeling was great for me. And I think that was also one of the reasons why I did well at Georgia.
It was my same experience in graduate school, is that I became a better person because I had a counseling graduate degree too. And so it was, and I remember it being part of the program is like, you have to better yourself along with becoming a trained counselor. And that I think is huge. It's, even though you're in graduate school in 22, doesn't mean self-growth is ending. It's actually probably beginning.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I learned so much more about myself in that process.
Good. And then you went on to get amazing jobs?
I did. I knew in graduate school that I wanted to work with historically Black colleges and universities. I did all of my research on historically Black colleges and universities, and I knew that's where I wanted to be. And so after graduate school, I worked at Spelman College in Atlanta, and I got the opportunity to work with their housing and residence life office. I also got to work with their pre-college programs there and a little bit with their admissions office. And then I ended up getting engaged and transitioning back to North Carolina, where I worked at North Carolina Central University with their residential life program. And I really just continued to enjoy the HBCU experience until I transitioned back to state some years later. So HBCUs are still very much an interest of mine, but for some reason I had a calling to come back here. And maybe because I knew that there were students that needed the support that I had when I was here, or maybe it's because it just feels like home here. But I've been here now for a while, and I'm still enjoying it.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've seen the improvements, or the advancements that NC State's made.
Definitely. If we had a TRIO program when I was here, like a student support services program, you and I would have been best friends. You would have been one of those mentors that I had. But yeah, we did not have student support services when I was here. I didn't think you all came in 2009, maybe. I think 2009. But we didn't have programs like that. We had multicultural student affairs and the cultural center, and I got connected in my major. But the university is doing a great job now and really trying to anticipate what students' needs are and trying to meet those needs. And so, yes.
No, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's your direct advice, like real steps that a student could take now, say they're a freshman, a sophomore, and how they can best prepare to tackle, like, if they have the feeling of imposter syndrome or the double bind that we talked about, or even just irrational self-talk? And
so I have 3 things that I want to encourage students to do, and we'll see if it transforms into 4.
Okay. But you can add into 6. It's okay.
The first thing I encourage students to do is to find safe spaces on their campus that will affirm their identity. So regardless of if you identify as a first-generation college student, as a underrepresented student, as a student that likes golf, as a student that commutes to campus, whatever it is that you identify with, make sure that you find spaces on campus for you to feel at home with your people. Like she said before, find your tribe. That's really going to help sustain you. And while you do that and you find your spaces, also find spaces where you can step out of your comfort zone and practice being uncomfortable, because the more you do it, the better you will get at it. So don't just find your tribe and stay there, but find your tribe and then step out of your tribe every now and again to see how it feels, and you'll find that you'll get better and better at it to the point where you won't even know that you're out because you've gotten so accustomed to it. So that's number 1.
I have a story, actually. A student
ahead.
I was brag about that, where every semester she picked something to do that made her uncomfortable. So she joined a student organization, affinity organization, which she did not belong to. So she joined a African dance group, and she was not African, and she had never danced before. And she said it was so funny because she was the only person who had a problem with it.
Everyone else.
No, yeah. Everyone was just like, okay. And she's like, but what, and it was like, no, you're here. We need you to do this. And so, I think that's the thing, too, awesome. Is that you're probably going to be the only person who's uncomfortable.
You got to just do situation. It. Yeah, just step out and do it. You'll find that you'll learn so much about yourself, and then you'll learn about the people that are outside your group, which will take you far. My next thing is to learn more about your culture, which sounds weird because a lot of people are like, oh, okay, I know my culture. I know my relatives. I know my ancestors. But do you really? Ask yourself, in high school history, did you really learn everything you needed to know about your culture, your people? And if that answer is no, try to take classes about your culture. Try to ask relatives. Maybe do your own research. There's a lot of Ancestry.com. I don't know how factual they all are, but there's a lot of that out there where you can kind of track who you are and who your people were. And so find a way to do that, because for me, that gave me life, literally and figuratively. And so seek that information out, and that will be extremely helpful for you to make sure that you're, making your ancestors proud. And then the last thing I would say is, if you are encountering some of that, negative self-talk or some of those, if you're hearing in your head that you're not good enough, I would say talk to somebody, and not just talking to a friend or your mom, because parents, they'll love you and they'll tell you whatever you need to hear. But talking to a non-biased person, a counselor. Here at the university, you can talk to someone for free in the counseling office. And really just getting out how you feel or what you're thinking, and have someone toss it back at you. Have someone challenge you. Have someone ask you in-depth questions. It feels well, it feels uncomfortable while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But once it's over, you feel so much lighter and relieved and just happy that someone else knows your story, that it's incredible. So I want to encourage people to do that. Culturally, I grew up hearing that, only a certain type of people go to counseling and that people like us shouldn't go to counseling. But that is a total lie.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents now both go to counseling, and it's been really good for them as well. And I do as well. So I just want to encourage people to do it and normalize counseling a little bit more so that people feel safe in doing that. It's good for your soul.
Yeah, and I think that's, too, it's like seeking out help, whatever that may be. If it's, physical health,
Mm-hmm.
if it's spirituality, if it's, because you don't know everything.
No.
And so actually what we do know as individuals is so small
Mm-hmm.
that, we have to ask other people, talk to other people, go try different things,
Mm-hmm.
because our small world isn't enough. Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
like, think about how many people you rely on.
Right. And sometimes we just need a counselor. Like my counselor, she'll just like turn a mirror around on me and have me look at myself and, say some of the things that I'm thinking in my head out loud so then I could hear how irrational it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good for me. And so I encourage people to do that. Try it at least once.
Yeah, because that's the piece, too, is like if you're afraid or embarrassed to tell a friend or something, then that's perfect for a counselor. Like that's what you should share with a counselor.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. But those are my 3, and it didn't turn into 4.
Good.
One was kind of 1.A.
What's that?
1A and 1B. It was to find safe spaces, but also,
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to spaces that make you uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like an extra bullet.
Did you ever get the genetic testing? I know a lot of people are doing that now.
I have not, because a part of me is like, well, how do I know that this is legit?
Oh, okay.
So I want to, though.
Yeah.
But a part of me is like, how do I know there's not just some person in some back room like circling stuff and I already gave them $100? Because I'm super cheap. That's the, low income part of me coming out.
Yeah.
I don't want to, like, quote unquote, waste money. So I haven't done it yet. But if someone out there listening wants to gift me with a, I'm just kidding.
A reliable genetic test.
But I really want to do it. I really am interested in finding out, what part of, I say Africa, but it may not be Africa. What part of Africa my ancestors are from. What
part of the world.
Yeah, what particular tribe they might have been a part of, and just doing more research on that. I love it. Love history.
Yeah, because I like to do it to see how many lies, because family tell lies.
OMG. Yes, they do. So I just want to show everybody, but knowing my family, no one will believe that I'm part whatever. Everybody was like, they would just say, oh, there she goes being that too overly educated Roshaunda.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, well, thanks for talking with us, Roshaunda. We'll bring you back for the PhD acceptance party. We'll have that on air.
Oh, my gosh.
Don't hide your head.
I know. Okay. All right. We'll do it. Let's do it. It'll be soon.
TRIO Student Support Services Program and Student Support Services STEM are federally funded college retention and completion programs. These programs focus on academic, personal, and career support for under-resourced undergraduate students. At TRIO SSS and SSS STEM, our goal is helping our students reach their goals. We are currently accepting new students to our program. Apply today. Go to www.ncsu.edu to learn more about student support services at NC State.